What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We're back doing another preview video for the Rugby World Cup. It feels so good to say that we're actually on to the Rugby World Cup. Now, we've already done one of these for France versus New Zealand. Of course, that game kicking off tomorrow on Friday evening. This one, though, is going to be for Ireland versus Romania. Maybe not one of the headline games going on this weekend, but it's still an important game given how tight Pool B could end up looking. Getting as many points as possible from playing some of the tier 2 sides will potentially be the big deciding factor as to maybe whether you qualify from this group or not. As we do in these preview videos, of course, we're going to be checking out the teams that have been announced to play in this game, have a run through of the team sheets, who some good picks, some bad picks, some thoughts on how we think this game might go, and finally, of course, giving a score prediction. If you enjoy this style of video, make sure to hit that like button. Let's help boost that algorithm a little bit. And if you want to support the small channels on YouTube who enjoy talking a bit about rugby, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because it really does help us out, especially with how many videos probably YouTube is going to be saturated with talking about the World Cup. Starting out then with Ireland. Ireland classed as the home team for this one. Now, going up against Romania, and seeing how Romania have done in their more recent games, they've been on a bit of a losing streak. I expected to see a little bit more of an underwhelming Ireland side. It is not. This is very, very close to maybe being about the biggest Ireland side they can put out. So Ireland definitely are considering they want the 4 tries in this game. They want the bonus point. They want to stamp down that marker. They maybe want to, bounce back a little bit from that game versus Samoa they had in the World Cup warm-up. So starting off in the front row, Andrew Porter, Rob Herring and Tadhg Furlong. Now this is an absolutely solid front row. Scrimmaging, going up against Romania. Italy didn't really look like they struggled that much against Romania. I'll never claim to be, a big Romania rugby aficionado. They're one of the teams I know a lot less about compared to some of the other international teams. But Italy seemed to get on perfectly well against the Romanian scrum, and I would rank the Irish scrum as much higher than Italy's scrum. So I think they'll be doing okay here. A couple of people might be thinking Dan Sheehan would be starting if you wanted to be seeing that full starting Ireland team, but Rob Herring still a great hooker to go in there, and he's absolutely bolstered there by having Andrew Porter and Tadhg Furlong. That's still a solid front row. I think they'll look to do pretty well in the scrimmaging. In the lock department, Joe McCarthy goes in alongside of James Ryan. So Tadhg Beirne actually being moved to the flanker position for this game. So they're doing a bit of a mix around in that back row, which is interesting, but nice to see a bit more from Joe McCarthy. Probably a good game to give him some game time in before they get on to some of the bigger ones versus like the Springboks, Scotland and stuff. In that back row, Tadhg Beirne taking the blindside flanker for this one. Peter O'Mahony is moving to the open side, and Caelan Doris is holding that number 8 shirt. So this is a really good back row, to be fair. Interesting to see how they've moved it up as opposed to having Josh van der Fleer in that open side and keeping Peter O'Mahony in the 6 shirt. They've just switching it up, doing a couple of testing things maybe to see, how would this work if you maybe had an injury to Josh van der Fleer. There's obviously a couple of people that can move into that number 8 or that number 6 shirt. Open side flankers maybe the only position where I'm actually not sure how versatile they can be. They've tried Caelan Doris in that open side during the World Cup warm-ups as well, so maybe they're testing the waters a bit just to see what the depth is in that position. But this is still a solid back row. The ability for these lads to get involved with the jackal penalties all day long is right there. So 1 to 8, absolutely solid from Ireland. Really nice to see them putting out a bit of a monster team for this one. They're sort of showing their hand a bit. They want to go for the big scores in this game, and dominating the set piece is probably the best way to start that off. In the halfback partnership, Jameson Gibson-Park going in alongside Johnny Sexton. Now Johnny Sexton, of course, coming back off the end of his ban now. He's coming in, first game of the World Cup, his first game back. I did wonder whether they would start him because you run the risk of the injury against a team like Romania when you probably want him for the Springbok Scotland games, but has no game time during those World Cup warm-ups. Need to get him on the pitch, get some minutes under his belt. He's an experienced player. I'm sure he'd be fine just to jump on. Pretty cold, but you want to make sure he's warmed up and absolutely, going to get involved with these games. So putting on against Romania, I think, is a good move. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we didn't see him for the entire game. I would maybe think of him 40 minutes, 50 minutes. Make sure he's warmed up, make sure he's having a good game, get some kicks at the towards the posts, and then maybe take him off just to avoid those injuries. Get Jack Crowley on a little bit later just to make sure he's all fit and healthy, and not screaming swear words at referees to make sure he can still play the rest of the games in the pool. In the centre partnership, Bundy Aki goes in alongside Gary Ringrose. This is probably what most people would consider the the starting centre partnership for Ireland. So these lads will be looking to cause a bit of a nuisance for themselves going up against Italy. I saw Romania have quite a few issues with Italy going on the hard press, launching, in fact, their centres. Ignacio Brex was making inroads against Romania a lot in that game. So the centre areas is where maybe Romania defensively can get a little bit tired as that game goes on, the fatigue kicks in. Someone like Bundyaki running at you all day, oh boy, that can get tiring real quick. So, this is a solid centre partnership to chuck on. And then finally, in the back three, James Lowe, Keith Earls, and Hugo Keenan will be taking that fullback position. So no Mac Hansen, but to be fair, Keith Earls, we had that 100th cap game during the World Cup warm-ups, got himself a try as well. He was looking good on the wing, so that's absolutely fine. James Lowe feels like one I feel like we haven't actually said his name for a little bit of a while. Nice to see him back in the side. I wouldn't be surprised if we see James Lowe play most of the game. It doesn't look like at a quick glance on the bench there's anyone that's going to be directly filling in on the wing. I'm sure someone would fill in if they need them to, but I imagine Keith Earls and James Lowe looking to spend the majority of the game time in this one. So 1 to 15, pretty solid. I mean, I'm trying to even think, who would you maybe swap out if you wanted the full starting team? I think to me, you just move Tyburn back into the lock and you chuck Josh van der Fleer on in that back row and you probably have Dan Sheehan at hooker, right? Bar that, I think that's maybe the first choice Ireland team. So Romania have got a really, really tough ask ahead of them in this game. Quickly, in terms of the substitutes then, we have Ronan Kelleher goes in alongside Jeremy Loughman and Tom O'Toole, which is still, a pretty solid front row to bring on in that second half. Ian Henderson and Josh van der Fleer will be filling in the rest of the replacement forwards. Conor Murray, Jack Crowley, and Robbie Henshaw will be your backs coverage. So, Robbie Henshaw, of course, a little bit versatile. He can play, both centres, and I reckon you could probably chuck him on the wing if you really needed him to. I'm not sure who he would come on for. Both Bundyaki and Gary Ringrose are quite integral players into the Ireland team. You wouldn't want to see either of them go off with an injury or so. And so who do you replace with him? I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they take Gary Ringrose off and put Robbie Henshaw on, because I think Bundyaki just keeps running forward no matter what. And I quite like seeing that 12-13 with Aki and Robbie Henshaw. But overall, this is a really, really good Ireland side. I'm really glad to see how strong this team actually is going into this one. So I would imagine Ireland are looking for the 4 try bonus point in this one. No disrespect to Romania, but this is a massive Ireland team. This is not far off a team you'd be expecting if they got to like a World Cup final. So unfortunately, I think Romania are in for a little bit of a tough game. Speaking of who, we'll move on quickly to talk about Romania. Now, I don't know a lot about Romanian rugby, but I thought a lot of you guys might want to check out the team as well. Now, I've gone away quickly to have a look at the team that went up versus Italy to see how many changes there have been. And in the front 8, there's only one change from that team that went on to play Italy, which is in the blindside flanker position. They've got Rosu starting this time instead of Stratila. I'm going to hopefully get those pronunciations right. I apologise in advance for my pronunciations of the names of some of the Romanian players. Brand new to me. I actually think the Italy-Romania game was the first ever game I saw Romania play. As a human being on this planet catching Romania. I think it's the first one I ever saw. So unfortunately the names are going to be a little bit aloof for me, or actually having a bit of knowledge about this team. But 1-8 is pretty much the team that went up against Italy. And they took the game to Italy. They didn't want to play safe. They didn't want to go for 3 points. They wanted to go on an attacking game. They wanted to play a bit of a physical game. But you have to say, as that game went on, fatigue certainly looked like it kicked in. They looked like they were having more and more issues in defence and beginning to open up. A lot of tackles being missed as well by a lot of this forward pack. And that's going up against Italy, who've been much better in terms of attack recently, but Ireland as well. Monster players in attack. So, this forward 8 pack is going to be tested. In terms of the backs, actually quite a few switches. A complete change of the halfback partnership. Rapanu and Vauavasa are going to be coming in as the halfback partnership for this one. In the centre partnership, also a bit of a switch up. Tamane is going to move into the inside centre. We played it outside centre versus Italy, so nice to get a bit of learning about some of this Romanian team, see how they can all shift about. Another one that sort of grabbed me there, Simeone Escu, who's playing the fullback for going up against Ireland, was playing on the wing last week. So, I'm slowly beginning to learn a little bit about the versatility of some of these, Romanian players where they can switch to. But it's nice to know a bit more about, some of these other teams that we might not get to see on TV that often, and learn a little bit about how they can switch up and move around. So it's nice to know they've got centres that can play both positions, hopefully equally well, and wingers moving to fullbacks. Not every team has, wingers that are more than comfortable playing at fullback. So we'll have to see how they get on. In terms of a score prediction then, because I can't talk a lot more about the Romania team, I have to say, I think they're in a lot of trouble for this one. With not trying to be mean, I think that Ireland team is massive. and I can see the intent in that team is all-out attack, all-out aggression. They've got the big boy wingers on. They've got the big centre partnership on. Hugo Keenan's going to be covering that backfield. The front eight's a big pack as well. They're going to try and take over the set piece. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a very, very dominant score by Ireland. Unfortunately, Romania might have a long day in this one. Italy actually took this one a couple of weeks back, 57 points to 7. They took it by 50 points. And you have to say, I kind of see it being similar to the Irish team. The only thing that I could hope is maybe that Ireland, with Johnny Sexton having not played as many games, maybe they go in the first half. We just want to see if we can get a couple of tries on the board, but they actually might take some 3 points just to make sure Johnny Sexton's up to the the kicking duties towards post. He's not going in completely cold into those Springboks games. But I can see this game being maybe a bit of a try fest. So unfortunately for Romania, probably the biggest prediction I've ever done on this channel, I'm going to say Ireland to win this one, and I'm going to say Ireland to win by 60. That feels kind of mean, especially when we're talking about World Cup sides. But if Italy can do it, 57 to 7. I know Romania are also down a man in that game, so that will have caused them some more issues. But I feel like it's a monster Ireland team. They're going for the 4 tries. They're going to go for all-out blood. And sometimes if they come away in that first half already scoring those 4 tries, and you might be 28-0 down on the board, sometimes that could be a massive mental hit, and that sometimes can carry the game forward. So that's what I'm going to go for, guys. Make sure you are getting your picks up on Super Brew. If you haven't already, I've already been having a look at the fantasy teams. I'm completely lost. There's so many teams to keep an eye on, but I'll be keeping these preview videos coming to help you know what teams are being announced as and when they come out over this weekend. I hope you've all enjoyed this one today, guys. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.